What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today's video we're going to be talking about Heroes Reborn #1 by Jason Aaron and Ed McGuinness, and in this video we are going to discover which heroes in the Marvel Comics universe still remember a previous timeline where the Avengers still existed, and more importantly, what the world is like now where the Avengers were never formed. Not only that, we're also going to get some insight into who just might be responsible for this change in reality, and more importantly, which Marvel superheroes need to return in order to fix it. We're going to talk about all this and more right now, but first, let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Okay, so when we kick off this book, this is probably something that I felt was going to be one of the least interesting things that Marvel was doing right now, and I'm not gonna lie, this book has my attention. What I really appreciate about it is the fact that not only is this book doing something really cool with this whole Heroes Reborn narrative, something that we've technically seen before on more than one occasion, what I like about this is that we're also getting this story from Bled's perspective. That's right, I said it. Blerd, the vampire hunter, a character who I feel like Jason Aaron has been wanting to write for so long, and he figured out a way a year, 2 years ago to get Blerd onto the Avengers so he could write this character on the slick, and he has recently been giving Blerd a lot to do. He still found ways to kind of keep Blerd into, the public eye, and I feel like he's doing it again here with this story where Blerd has no idea what has happened. All he knows is that the world is not like it was before. Some of the new staples of the Avengers that we have seen over the course of Jason Aaron's run are no longer a thing, like Avengers Mountain, the giant celestial that they repurposed and turned into Avengers HQ. It no longer exists. Not only is it gone, but it also seems that Robbie Reyes is not the Ghost Rider anymore. When Blerd goes to visit the Ghost Rider, he is not present. The Star Brand is nowhere to be found. And as it turns out, we learn in all this through the lens of Blerd that, yeah, a lot of our favorite Marvel Comics characters, they're not around. The Hulk is not around. Bruce Banner was banished to the negative zone after his first Hulk out. Jennifer Walters, who has been operating as the Hulk on the Avengers squad, she never became She-Hulk, let alone standing in for the Hulk. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that she never got that blood transfusion from her cousin Bruce. So she has been running a successful law firm in Los Angeles and has never so much as even glinted at being a superhero. Not only that, Captain Marvel, who we actually see in this comic, her Kree heritage has never been revealed to her. She has never had her powers activated by the Psyche Magnetron, and because of her brash nature, she has never even reached the rank of captain in the Air Force because of her constant insubordination. We also learn that Tony Stark, he has never caught the shrapnel that nearly killed him, so he is still the same smug, selfish son of a bitch that he was before he became Iron Man. He is still an arms dealer, and he is still playing both sides of the equation, most likely. As Tony Stark is wont to do. He is still an awful human being. Even characters like Doctor Strange, they don't exist. At least if they do exist, they're not a sorcerer supreme. It's even stated that the Sanctum Sanctorum on Bleecker Street is not there. It's actually a head shop, and that no one has ever heard of Stephen Strange. Another thing we learn is that the character Thor, he was banished, no different than before, from Asgard by his father Odin, and in this particular instance, where in the normal Earth 616 reality, Thor would eventually become worthy and then reclaim the hammer Mjolnir, but in this case, in this reality, Thor never reclaimed it. He has since remained on Earth and has literally been drinking his life away, not too dissimilar from how Odin was drinking his life away in the recent Thor story arc, Prey, by Donny Cates. This Thor wants nothing to do with anything, and it almost kind of seems as though he does know that he is destined for something greater. It almost seems like when Blade approaches him, he does realize that I am supposed to be better. I am supposed to be more. You can tell that somewhere down the road, something has happened that may have cemented him as being in this sullen state. And of course, last, but most certainly not least, the one character who's missing from this whole endeavor that you would go, hey, okay, where's Captain America in all of this? As it turns out, he's not around either. And at first, no one really seems to know exactly where he is. All we know is that Blade finds a statue of Captain America simply stating in loving memory. So without Earth's mightiest heroes, what state is the world even in? Well, as it turns out, pretty shitty one. Now, of course, some of these things that we see occurring in this comic, I'm going to go into right now. Some of it I find completely laughable. Some of it I find completely ridiculous, while others I think are oddly very entertaining or interesting. And that's one of the ones that we made fun of on the Blerd Cave, Dr. Juggernaut. In this reality, Dr. Doom no longer rules Latveria. He has been deposed. He is no longer the dictator and ruler of the fictitious land. And more importantly, with his free time now that he no longer gets to be the power-mad tyrant of Latveria, he has unearthed the Crimson Gem of Sidorak and become the avatar for Sidorak, thus making him Dr. Juggernaut. And he is incredibly powerful in this form, albeit he looks kind of ridiculous. Who is around to stop people like him? Well, as it turns out, it's the Squadron Supreme of America. Now, for those who are not familiar with the Squadron Supreme of America, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, these characters are basically Marvel's analog for the Justice League of America, if you couldn't already tell. We see characters like Hyperion coming in to beat the brakes off of Dr. Juggernaut. If you can't look at Hyperion and tell who he is supposed to be, he is very much Superman. We also have Nighthawk, who is a personal favorite character of mine, but this particular Nighthawk is not the original Nighthawk. This is not the Kyle Richmond of Earth 616, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a white man, but this is in fact the Kyle Richmond of Earth 31916, who is a black character, and not too terribly long ago when his Earth was destroyed, came to this Earth and basically took over as the new Nighthawk in a rather forcible fashion. We'll just put it at that. But if you can't tell, Nighthawk is Batman, and if that wasn't obvious enough. And we know that this particular version of Batman is up against a venomized version of Hydra, where we see that Red Skull is now bonded with the Venom symbiote and is now Black Skull. Another interesting character they have in their lineup is one by the name of Dr. Spectrum. Now, for those who can't tell, this particular character, while some might try and think that maybe he's a Martian Manhunter analog, he's actually more of a Green Lantern in terms of the fact that he gets his powers from a particular artifact, and it is called the Power Prism. That said, the Power Prism basically allows him to create constructs not that dissimilar from a Green Lantern. Another character we have is Blerd, and if you couldn't tell, Blerd is the Flash. Not only is he Marvel's version of the Flash, but he's also up against the Silver Witch, who a lot of us originally thought that maybe this was Jean Grey who became the Scarlet Witch, when this was originally announced, but this is actually Wanda Maximoff, the only difference now being that she has absorbed the powers of her brother Quicksilver after he died. And now, not only does she have her chaos magic and reality warping abilities, but now she's also superhumanly fast. And of course, we have the Power Princess, who, once again, if you can't tell just by looking at her, she is very much Wonder Woman. I mean, this is what it is. This is Wonder Woman. Anyway, point of the matter is, she's up against the unstoppable Olgog, which, for those of you who may or may not remember in Jason Aaron's run, Thor, when Jane Foster was wielding the mantle of Thor, she had to defeat the Mangog, who was basically the ultimate destroyer of all things in the 10 realms, and their sole purpose was to destroy Asgard. And in all reality, the Mangog technically succeeded. Apparently, the man god, he is the one who killed Odin, hence why he kind of seems to look like Odin. I mean, you know, as much as the man god can look like Odin, but also why he has the title of Allgod. When he killed Odin, he absorbed all of Odin's power, thus giving him the Odin Force, now the, I guess would be the Gog Force. And worse yet, Thanos is around too, this time wielding not Infinity Stones, but Infinity Rings. All of this craziness is happening, and Blade is at the center of it. He's the only one who really knows that something is not right. Or is he? Nighthawk is one of those characters who's considered to be one of the smartest people on the planet. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's Batman, so of course he's probably going to be one of the smarter people around, and usually is probably going to be the person who's quickest to notice when something's not right. Well, as it turns out, Blade was correct. Blade approaches Nighthawk and challenges him. He wants to know what Nighthawk knows because he knows that Nighthawk knows something's not right. Whether Nighthawk wants to admit it or not, openly or not, especially considering the fact that Nighthawk has a little bit of experience with being a fish out of water in another reality. Yes, he knows that Nighthawk knows something isn't right, and that's all he really needed to know in order to figure this whole thing out and what he has to do. Something that kind of puts Blade on Nighthawk's radar, and that's also something I found very interesting in this, is the fact that when Nighthawk and Blade meet for the first time in this issue, it's not the first time, at least not to Nighthawk. Nighthawk automatically knows who Blade is in a reality where Blade probably would not exist otherwise. Maybe. If all the other heroes don't exist or are not who they are in the Earth 616 reality, why would Blade be no different? And if Blade is here, of course Nighthawk knows what's going on. The question is, do the other heroes in the Squadron Supreme know? One person I can tell you for a fact I think does know what's going on, and that's Phil Coulson, who has become president of the United States. Something just doesn't seem right about Coulson, and Coulson has been playing a long con for quite some time. We also know that he has been in league with some very dark powers, namely Mephisto. There's some very ominous things that he says, though, that kind of let us know that he's fully aware of what's going on. But at the end of it all, Blade is going to find a way, and he knows exactly what he needs. He needs to put the players back on the board who aren't on the board at all, namely Captain America. Going to find Captain America's location where he fell on the ice, because apparently he was never recovered, which means either A, someone knew where he was going to be and simply just chose to make it to where he wasn't recovered, or no one bothered to look. But the other thing we discover is that Thor, he was worthy all this time, but he just didn't know how to channel it. Whereas in the past, where especially since we just recently had the reemergence of Donald Blake, we see that Thor, at some point, he does receive Mjolnir again when he taps his mead horn on the table, much in the way that Donald Blake would tap his walking stick. The horn turns into Mjolnir. So now we know how these characters are going to try and make their comeback. But the question is, how is Blade going to get the other characters on board, or is he going to find other characters who are going to be on board with this? Now, that said, we know that there are some other things going on with this universe. We already are aware of the fact that we have this Masters of Doom team Dr. Juggernaut has put together alongside the Silver Witch, the Unstoppable Allgog, Thanos, and Black Skull. And of course, we know there's more to this than that, but I'm very curious to see how it's all going to play out. Something tells me that this is actually going to be something a little bit better than what I think Marvel initially made it out to be, at least at first glance. At first glance, I was not interested in this in the slightest. I actually remember talking to some people in the Discord about how, whether or not I was going to cover this on the channel, and I don't know, we'll see. We're going to play it by ear, but this issue definitely had my attention, if for no other reason the fact that it gave one of my favorite Marvel Comics characters a chance to shine, and is doing something with the story that, while may not be entirely new or original, it is at least trying to do something to spice up that formula. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button, and make sure to share this video all over the internet with all your friends so that they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to the new Marvel Comics storyline, Heroes Reborn. Also, on your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about this issue of Heroes Reborn #1. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.